and plugs. And so without further ado, I want to present Liz and Angela and Mentimeter.
Let me unmute myself and then, oops. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And okay, so I thought we'd go over some brief overviews of the different features that Mentimeter offers us first. And so the thing that I really love about Mentimeter is that it's so easy to use, both for the presenter and for the audience. So it's really easy to sign up. It's really easy to create an account and then just start using it. You really don't need, I don't know, a training session or anything like that, really. At least for me, I just kind of started clicking around and playing with it. And all of a sudden I had a Mentimeter survey going. And so I've been using it quite a bit with students, but also in presentations like this, a little bit more informal, but also formal ones like to the academic senates and different places like that. It's really the kind of thing that fits in any kind of presentation that you're giving, which is part of what I love about it. And it's really fun too, fun to use, fun to look at. They've got templates that are really pretty. I'm not much of a design person, but they've got so many templates and they've got many more coming. And so it's really easy to find one that I really want to use and then just start creating a presentation from it. And part of it, I think, is that the design is really engaging and it gets people wanting to interact. So it's not just me talking, which I don't like to do. And I'm sure, people don't want to hear me just talking for 50 minutes straight. So being able to break it up with, presentations every 5-10 minutes or every 10-15 minutes, I think is a good way to break things up. And it really seems to get people participating just anecdotally whenever I'm presenting, whether it's to students or to fellow librarians or faculty members. And even for the people who aren't necessarily who aren't necessarily participating for whatever reason, they're still watching and engaging. You can see it in the comments and the chat. Sometimes people will speak up and, say something. Sometimes they're heckling a student who isn't doing so well, or I don't know, don't make fun of like the name that they chose, or, people are still like engaging in it and they're still not necessarily participating in the Mentimeter, but they're still like yelling out their answers instead. And so it works really well for people who have a tablet, a phone, a computer, some way to participate that way. But even for people who, I don't know, just don't feel comfortable participating in that way, they're still able to do so in other ways through chat or yelling out answers, like I said earlier. And the other thing too is when you're still participating and answering, you're still, I think, absorbing a lot of information. And so that's another thing that I really like about it, especially when I'm sort of quizzing people to see just how much they got out of, I don't know, a 5-minute quick demo of OneSearch or whatever it is that I've just shown off. It's a quick way to find out for me how much people have gone out of that presentation, but it's also a good way to kind of cement it into everybody's minds by reviewing it and kind of getting the vocabulary or different concepts into their minds. And you can also see on this slide, there's all sorts of different things that you can do. So there are, for example, 13 interactive question types, including things like word clouds and quizzes, things we'll show you a little bit later. And you can do all sorts of things. And so I hope you really enjoyed this presentation and you enjoy using Mentimeter afterwards. And feel free to ask questions, throughout, at least for my section. Another thing that we get asked a lot about during these presentations with some of the other things that we've shown off are the starting points for how much things cost. And this is sort of the breakdown for people who are in the education business. So this covers everybody who's a K through 12 teacher. It's for anybody who has, I don't know, a connection to a museum or anybody like a zoo. If you're into education in any format, this is available for you. And these are the prices that they would charge you. You can see, for example, there's like a 30% discount for the basic. Instead of $9.99, you would pay $6.99. And for the pro, you'd pay $24.99 versus $14.99. Those are for people who aren't in the education business. So people who work for Google or people who work outside of education, they would pay $9.99, for example, for basic. But for all of us, it's if you're, you want the free version, it's obviously $0. But if you want basic pro, you get all sorts of extra features. So things like unlimited questions, for example, with basic that you would not with the free version, and so on and so forth. So the one that I'm kind of hoping for, the one that I would encourage everybody to do, is to encourage the campus to subscribe. And honestly, it's really not that expensive. I can't tell you exactly how much off the top of my head it is. And it is dependent on, to some degree, how many students you have at your school, how many faculty members, how large your campus is. But even still, it's not like you'll get a bill for $48,000. It's still like in the lower thousands of dollars, like $2,000, $3,000. And in that case, everybody has access to basically the pro features. But for me personally, just a free version has been enough up to this point. I've never done anything more than maybe 15, 16 questions. And that seems to cover pretty much everything that I want to ask. I mean, I'm not going to go into like a 55 question survey, in a 50-minute. So for me, it's been good enough. These are some of the features that you get. Depending on whether you go for a free basic pro or campus. And this is the screenshot for people who are in the education side of things. So it may look different if you are a professional. So you can go to any of the websites and they're really easy to find these pages. So you can easily go into, wherever and look this stuff up, whatever your situation is. For example, like on my screen, it gets cut off at branding and customization. There's about, I can't remember off the top of my head, but 4 or 5 other things that get covered in this page. And you can easily go to this page and look that up. But here you can see, for example, you get 2 questions per presentation. You get 5 quizzes per presentation. Questions and quizzes are a type of thing that you can put into a Mentimeter. It's a type of a question. So it's not that you get 2 questions everywhere, or that's it. I'm saying that awkwardly. But you can do, for example, you could have 7 in a presentation. So you could have 2 questions and then 5 quiz type of questions. And then, unlimited content slides and whatnot. But here, obviously, you can do more with, importing presentations. You can make presentations private. You can create your own presentations, templates if you have that eye for design, if you have the campus. So those are some of the extra things that you get. And now I'm going to turn it over to Liz and let her, I guess, share her screen. Are you able to do that? Do I need to stop sharing?
It's letting me,
Okay.
It's letting me share. Let me switch over here. Can everyone see the Mentimeter slide?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, in a moment, I'm gonna show another quiz and you'll have the chance to participate again, but just in case you are opting not to participate, I just wanted to show you what it looks like from the participant perspective with a couple slides. So, so yeah, here's just a basic screenshot, like some of you saw before. When you start a quiz and tell your students or your audience to go there, you go to menti.com and enter the code just like you see here. And then, of course, the questions start coming up. So here's an example of a question, like let's say we're brainstorming keywords for a research topic. I'll have my students or audience enter the keywords down here in these boxes. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. And then as the answers start coming in, you'll see them in a word cloud or whatever option you've chosen up on the screen. And you'll get to see that in a minute too. So here's just another example where it's the same idea. The question appears, and either on your computer or on your mobile device, you can enter the answer down in the box here. So yeah, any questions so far before we jump into the demo? No? Okay, so let me jump out of the slides here and head over to my demos. Oh, I see there's a few questions in the chat. Can you limit how many answers each student submits? You can, depending on the question choice, you can say they can give one answer, they can give, I think, up to 3. So yes, you do have the choice to say how many times a person can respond. Yeah. Okay, let me go ahead and start this one. Okay, can everyone see the purple screen with the question on it? Yes, okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Okay, so if you would like to, again, feel free to go to menti.com and enter the code up at the top to participate. So the code is 6185239. And again, you should be able to do this on your mobile device or in a separate tab if you would like to. So this is an exercise. Oh, good. People are submitting their questions. But yeah, fantastic. Go ahead and submit your ideas if you would like to. So this is one I use a lot. Like I said, if we're trying to brainstorm, like what are some keywords maybe we could use for a research topic? I find that sometimes students are a little shy about offering their ideas in front of a class. So this is a way to do it anonymously, without putting them on the spot. So I've had a pretty good success rate with this kind of question. And as you can see, I chose the word cloud option. So as people submit their answers, they appear in this fun sort of word cloud format. Let me see. So as you probably saw when you submitted your answer, for this type of question, you're limited to 25 characters. So it's for short answers. It's not for more complex things. But like I said, you can customize the number of entries per person. So yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go to the next question if that's okay with everybody. So here's an example of, instead of a short answer question, here's a more open-ended question. Again, what's a feature of a scholarly article, or how could you recognize a scholarly article? So for this one, it allows for longer answers. I think there's a 250 character limit on this one. So if you want to, you can go ahead and type in your ideas for how you identify a scholarly article. Long, yes, they are not, they're not short. They tend to be wordy. Yeah. Absolutely. And you can choose to have answers appear one by one or in a group as you're seeing them here. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let me see here. Is this a question or a quiz? So this is a question. So I use it as like a brainstorming tool or as a way to start a discussion, although there is a competition, more of a quiz option as well. But yeah, this is more of just a question / discussion starter. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, you're welcome, Esther. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one. So aside from word cloud or short answer, long answer questions, there's also an option. Let me see here. To ask your students to rate things on a scale or agree, disagree. So I don't want things to get too tense, but I'm asking some like controversial questions here. Where you can rate, like, do you strongly disagree or do you agree that ice cream is better than cake, or that Star Wars is better than Star Trek? And then this is just kind of a silly icebreaker, but you could also use it to guide the direction your class takes. For example, would you disagree or agree that you feel very strong, that you, that you feel comfortable with database navigation or with developing your research topic? And maybe then that could determine what path your class takes, if that makes sense. So, okay, it looks like people are a little divided on these, but like I said, they're controversial. What's the difference? Angela, you're killing me.
Sorry, that's the question I always give to my engineer friends.
No, that's okay. My spouse always confuses them, pretends to confuse them too. Yeah, so anyway, this is another fun option. Let's see if there's any questions. There is a lot of difference, I agree. Okay.
Liz,
So let me, sure.
there's a question by Susan Montgomery in the chat. Just a bit of clarification, you can create multiple questions in one session?
Yes, you can. So you can kind of mix and match, like I did here with the long answer, short answer, scale questions. And there are other options too. I'm just showing you the ones I tend to use. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Susan?
It's perfect. Yeah,
Perfect.
she says
Okay.
perfect.
Great. Yeah. And are the only options agree, disagree? I think they are. I wouldn't swear to it, but I think it's just agree, disagree. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I don't see any other questions, but let me know if I'm missing anyone. Okay, let me X out of here and go to my other demo. Like Angela mentioned, I should have mentioned at the beginning, I have a free version. So, depending on what tier you have, the results might look a little bit different. So that's why I'm limited to a certain number of questions per quiz. So I'm going to go over to my other demo. And I'm going to quickly show you the quiz competition option. So in this one, if you want your students to get into groups or compete with each other, even one-on-one, there is this quiz competition option. So if you want to, you can, again, go to menti.com and enter the code 2500040. And no pressure, this is just for demonstration. And yes, Kate, this is a live tool. I'm not sure how you would use it asynchronously. I think it would work better in real time, yeah. Okay, so for this one, there's a few different options. The first couple questions, it's kind of like multiple choice. You choose the correct answer or choose from a few correct answers. So I'm going to go ahead and start the quiz here. And you get speed for accuracy, but also for how quickly you answer, just so you know. So which of these does not belong in an APA style citation for a journal article? So you would choose the one that doesn't belong.
And this is the kind of place where I have students both go in and put in their answers, but also yell them out or put them in chat.
I like that. Yeah, so of course, we're all library professionals, so we all got it correct. Place of publication does not belong. So here's another example of a choose an option, like a multiple choice kind of option. So how do you get in touch with the librarian? So for these short questions, I gave people 15 seconds to answer, but you can change it. You can, for example, the next question, it's a little more complicated, so people have 30 seconds to answer. Right, so in this case, there were multiple correct answers because we don't have a bat signal yet, but maybe someday. So yeah, let me see the chat here. Okay, cool. And then finally, here's an example of a question where you type in an answer. So I gave a little bit more time to respond, 30 seconds instead of 15 seconds. So yeah, you can do open-ended questions too in the quiz competition format. Oops, I'm sorry, I accidentally clicked past the end of that question, but sorry about that. But then at the end, you can see the leaderboard. So congratulations, Liz B, for racking up the most points in that one. So yeah, let me see. So yeah, that's just a quick demonstration of, like I said, the quiz competition option. I'm not covering all the question types, but that's just kind of, those are the ones I use the most and seem to fit the most, or fit the best, excuse me, into like a information literacy type of class. Yeah. So any questions before I hand it over to Angela? I think she's going to be demonstrating a few different things like how to download results and things like that. Any questions? The 24 at the bottom right.
That is a number of participants.
Ah. Thank you. My participants was blocking that part of the screen, so I wasn't sure. Yeah.
They're asking if how does this differ from similar tools, but I think we'll cover that at the end, right, Liz?
Correct. Yeah.
So this is where we'll go play and actually start creating some Mentimeters. So let me go back to this screen. And is it big enough? I saw earlier in comments that I don't know if it was for me or somebody else, but it sounded like the screens were too small.
It looks good, Angela.
It's okay. Okay. So you log in, and this is what you see. You see the past ones that you've created, but you can just click on this blue new presentation button and see, give it a name that makes sense. I just realized that says demon. Sorry. I'm creating a demonstration, sorry. I'm gonna have to use that in one of my presentations with my students. And so this is what it looks like when you first get into all of this. And this is where you have all of your different choices. And what's kind of cool is that you can see like, in these boxes what it looks like, but you can also see in the screen over here what each one is going to look like once they go live. And so the popular question types, that's the one where you can have, was it 2? And then you can have up to 5 of these quiz competition questions. You only have 2 selections to choose from in the basic. If you go into Pro or some of the other ones, you have far, far more. But then the ones down here, the advanced and the content slides, you can have as many as you want. So that's where if you wanted to, you could end up with like 16 questions, and you can mix and match. So maybe you want to start off with a ranking or a word cloud or multiple choice, and then go into a little bit of a quiz and then come back and do a content slide. One of the things I've done is I've had like 2 or 3. So I will have, I don't know, like a word cloud at the very beginning, asking people how they're feeling today. And then, I don't know, another one with an open-ended or a Q and open-ended with, tell me how much you know about libraries, just to kind of get a feel for the room. And then I'll go later on, I don't know, somewhere maybe like 10 minutes later, and do a little quick quiz competition after I do like a demo of one search. And then I'll go back into my at our lecture mode, and then come back, and after we've done like ProQuest Research Library or EBSCOhost, I don't know, Academic Search Complete, something from EBSCOhost, we'll go into like another quiz competition. And then we'll have one at the very, very end. My chair collects all of these answers and it goes into a portfolio that she creates for our dean, and it's part of the performance review. So they kind of have a little bit of a student learning outcomes statistics that they can put into those reports. But here we've got one slide, and you can always add more slides. You can also, this star lets you know that this is a pro or a more expensive feature, but you can always import slides from your PowerPoints or elsewhere. From here, I think what you can do is import slides from other slides that I've already created. So, or other presentations I've created, I can pick a slide and bring that in. But I can just come in here, create a multiple choice, and I don't know, what's your favorite morning drink? And then type in something like, you know, mimosas, coffee, tea. And you can always add more. And you can always also, you can see mimosa, coffee, tea. You can come in here, click on these, and they have an image library. You can also upload your own, but if I wanted to, I can type in, see if this works. Nope. Here we go. I'll just use the first one. And then and it'll show up here. You can do it with all of them. And you can also create, let's see, go back here. And that's just to show that you have two options with images. You can create an image for an entire slide, but you can also create one for every question. And they have Unsplash, which you can go into, and you can also then go into the results layout. So once people start answering, do you want it as a donut, a pie, dots, or bars? And this is where you can have a little bit of fun, show the correct answers, show percentage. And I think somebody asked this earlier, that participants choose multiple options. So if they want to answer more than once, if they want to choose, I don't know, 2 different answers, they can do that. And it's up to 3 for the basic or for the free version. And once you've created one slide, you can then go in and add another slide. And the Q&A is one that somebody I think was asking about. And this is one that you can I tend to leave it like this, ask me anything. And I have it on all slides. If you have it only on Q&A slides, when this one comes up, so say you have like 10 slides here, you can have this show up every like 3rd slide or something. And when this shows up, those are the only times where people can ask a question. Where if you have it on all slides, regardless of whether this kind of a slide is up, people can always ask questions. And then when this pops up, that's when you can see the questions. But you can also moderate and approve if you have the Pro. And again, you can also drag or drop or use the image library and add images in to kind of personalize it a little bit. So some of the things that you can do, you can always go in and change the type. So this was, I think, a multiple choice, and maybe now I want people to type in an answer instead. I can always do that really easily. And you can always go back and look at the types and see if there are other ones that you want to use instead. You can also go into customize and do different layouts. So see, maybe this one. So you can see something like this. And you can just play around and see what looks good for you. And then once you're done, you can always close voting so that students probably won't come back, in 2 weeks and see if it's still working and put in some more answers. But you can always close the voting so that people can't vote. And then you can always go in here, and unfortunately for the free, you only have the presenter pace. So one of the things that I wish we had, especially for the quizzes, was the audience pace. So you really have to kind of keep an eye on things. As students, finish up, as the answers start trickling in, you might want to move on to the next question, or have a discussion, like, finish it and have a little discussion and move on. With the audience pace, once everybody's kind of done answering, they sort of have a, I don't know, AI thing that's measuring how quickly the answers are coming in, or if any are coming in at all, and they'll just go on to the next question. So those are some of the features that you get there. And then you can go into present, and this is what you would all see. With the quizzes, what's really fun, if I go back, is you can put in leaderboards. So quiz competition. Elephants. And obviously you can, again, go into, adding images and things like that. But here you can add a leaderboard. Oh, there's one added here. And you can always add like 4 or 5 to all of this. These are unlimited, and it tells people how they're doing. So at the end of every question, you put this out, people answer, and then this tells you how many people have gotten things right or wrong. So that's a good time to have a little bit of a discussion. If everybody got the answer wrong and said that elephants were their favorites, and you want to have a discussion about it, you can do that at that time. Are there any questions?
Angela, there's a question in the chat for the Ask Me Anything. How do they ask their questions? Do they type it in a chat box? Do the questions show up in the slideshow for everyone to see?
See, do I have that? So let's see. That's a question. You can put in, this can be kind of a quiz kind of a thing too. You can put in a correct answer to display. So there's also right now no correct answer. This is more of like a ask me anything. So you can use it in 2 different ways. So this is where you can go to menti.com and use 841747, and there will be a place to ask a question. And I don't have a screenshot. I should. I don't know if do people want to try this out? And the other thing that comes up is no questions from the audience right now, but this kind of gives you an idea of how many questions are coming in. And so here's one, oops, did I mark as answered? And so this is where you would, say the library opens at 2:30 in the morning, just to see if people are listening.
If you guys want to look at my profile picture right now, I'll just show you what it looks like on my phone before you submit something. Not sure if that's any clearer, but people write it down here and the questions that are being submitted at the time are right up here. This is from an audience view. It's a little funky, but yeah, that works.
The other thing that we
Thank you.
have is this thing called the Mentimeter. And so this is where it's sort of like NASA. You have all these different things. And so this is, I think, coming off from that Ask Me Anything type question. So if you have a really big screen, you can have this sort of on the side, or if you're lucky to have like 2 or 3 monitors, you can have this on one monitor and just kind of keep an eye on the kind of questions that are coming in, whether people are responding or not. And so, something like this, if people are answering, it'll show up and you can then say, go to the next question or the next leaderboard or, that sort of thing. So this is also a fun thing to use as well. And they also have Mentimeter on your phone if you want to use it that way. So if you don't have the 2 or 3 monitors or a big screen, you can always just use your phone as a Mentimeter and slide through the questions. Okay. Yeah. Any questions or?
Yeah, in the chat, Angela, do students typically use their phones when you do this in class? And is it also possible to download the report?
Yeah, so 50-50. I've had students who have a computer up, like a laptop, and they've got the, I don't know, OneSearch, or they've got Academic Search Complete or something open on that, and they don't want to move over. And it's just really easy for them to pick up their phone and answer it that way. I've had students do it that way, and I've also had students just answer right on their computers. Another thing that you can do with these is look over at the different types of questions or slides you've already got created. So you can kind of get an idea, sort of like the idea with people putting their homes up for sale. You can try and sell an empty house or an empty condo, but a lot of times people stage it so that people can kind of see what a room might look like once it's fully furnished, how they might go in and design it. And you can also see with this what a finished product might look like. So this is where people ask you questions, and then this is kind of how the answers pop up. And it's sort of like a lava lamp where the answers sort of float up to the top. But you can also go in here and choose some from the icebreaker section. There are different types of inputs that you can do, quiz competition versus ratings. And some of these work a little bit better with a size, of maybe 1 to 25 in the audience versus 500 plus. And then you can also go into themes. So Liz was using this one, I imagined the purple one. I tend to go for this one, but obviously there's a few here that you can use. So if you like the dark, black background with the earth kind of rolling around, there's that. So. And then there's a few things that you can configure that I think I showed earlier. And then the other thing that you can do too is you can go in and let's see. home. And let me go to, oh, Alan Anderson. Let's go to his. I got quite a few. And so once you're done, this is what pops up. Do you want to use the presentation again? Yes, reset the results, but you can also download the results. And so you can download the entire thing or just this one screen. So maybe, I don't know, you took something, you took you did a presentation like at the Academic Senate, and then you go over to the CGC committee and you want to let them know maybe 2 or 3 of the answers that you collected at the Academic Senate. You can just download 2 or 3 of these and use those screenshots into, put those into PowerPoints to do another presentation there. So was any of that helpful? I hope, maybe a little.
Looks like yes. See quite a lot of yeses in the chat, Angela. Very helpful. Tracy, I think you had your answer or your question answered, correct? On the liking. Tracy asks, as a participant, you see other questions that have been submitted. What does liking a question do? Is it like upvoting the question?
Not so much upvoting the question, but it just lets the faculty member know that they're hearting the question, or I don't know, the sentiments, or something. And that's actually, let's see, did I create this one? Let's see, where's that feature? Oh, this is another thing that you can do. You can always make your text bigger and smaller. And this is part of what's fun. You're always discovering new things. But I did see a place where you can, under themes, no, configuration. Liz, do you know where that is, where you can ask people to put in hearts? Is it under customize? Possibly.
Not sure. I'll poke around and see if I can find it.
Or if anybody in the audience knows.
Does anyone else have any questions while we poke around? Did we answer everyone's questions? If not, this is the time to ask them in the chat, please. I think so far the chat has been a little quiet. Should we wrap up? Or do you have anything? Oh, wait, we have a question. Is this limited to 16 questions?
So when you go in to create a new presentation, you get, I believe you get 2 of these popular question types. So that's 2. And then you get unlimited, or no, that's 2 of these popular question types. You get 5 of these quiz competition types. So that's 7. And then unlimited of the content slides. So if you wanted to add 10, that would be 17. If you wanted to add 20, I mean, this part is unlimited. The only thing is to look for the ones with these green stars. And that just means that those are only for people who are paying. So, but these other advanced questions and content slides, you can add an unlimited amount.
Thank you, Angela. Liz, Angela, are you guys, are we done, or should we go to the survey, or what do you guys think?
Do you think we have time to just talk about a comparison to other
Oh yes, go for it, Liz.
other ones real quick? Okay,
Yes.
so just real quick, in terms of other competitors or similar software, there's obviously Poll Everywhere. What initially brought me over to Mentimeter was the fact that you can have a bigger audience, theoretically up to 2,000 people, which I have not tried, disclaimer, but but according to their website, you can have audiences that big for most question types. I also like that Mentimeter allows for a greater variety of questions, like open-ended questions, which Poll Everywhere, I don't believe allows that option. So there's also the fact that Poll Everywhere is very expensive. So if your institution isn't paying for it, especially, that can be an issue. I think it's I'm just looking at my notes, $349 for individual instructor plans per semester. So it's not cheap. Let me see, but they do offer similar question types, word cloud, multiple choice, open-ended. So that's nice for Poll Everywhere. Angela, do you have anything to add about comparing those two?
No, but I'm curious if people have used those other tools, or even the ones that haven't been named, and what they think of those in comparison.
That's a good question. Does anybody have experience with similar tools like Poll Everywhere, Kahoot? I mean, we've probably all used some variety. Someone says they like it better than Poll Everywhere, easier to use, easier to share with students. I agree. I find it more intuitive personally.
What are some of the others that people have used?
A couple folks in the chat are saying Kahoot. Quizzes and H5P. I'm not familiar with that one, but
If you're looking for a few to play around with, AASL, I'm not quite sure, School Librarians, I know that, Association of American School Librarians. I don't know what that stands for, but they have a website where they give out awards for teaching and learning, teaching and learning, I don't know, tools and things like that. And Mentimeter and some of these others have been mentioned there. So if you're looking for tools to play around with, that might be a good place to go. And we've got the URL here if you want to screenshot it.
yeah, absolutely. I feel like someone mentioned in the chat that Kahoot is a little bit more aimed at a younger audience, maybe. And it doesn't have, I think, again, it doesn't allow open-ended questions. So if you want some more deeper discussion or more complex discussion in these quizzes, Mentimeter is nice for that reason too. So, yeah.
Has anybody created a new workstation? Just on a totally off topic. I've got one, and I've got this, what is this? It's a mouse, Bluetooth mouse that likes to fly off. I used to be one of those people where, like coffee cups and teacups would go flying off. Now I've got a mouse that's flying everywhere. Sorry.
No worries.
Distracted.
Liz, do you want to introduce our survey?
Sure, absolutely. Should I, let me see, should I share my screen or how do we want to do this?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Okay, let me click over to the right slide. So, so some of you, let me make this full screen here. Okay, so yeah, we hope you enjoyed the presentation today. It was a pleasure to talk to everybody and get to show off this cool tool. So some of you know that Lily currently has a working group that's putting together a community agreement survey. And basically those are like norms and guidelines to make sure everyone's voices are heard, everyone is respected, and especially we're uplifting BIPOC members and their voices and welcoming them. So we'd love your feedback on this. So this is unrelated to Mentimeter, but just as a quick pitch, if you have the chance to fill that out before February 15th, I believe is the deadline. We've got the bit.ly link here. So we just want to know, what do you look for in an organization? What would make you feel welcomed and supported in Lily? So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Angela and I are both on the working group. And I think it's fair to say we would both welcome any questions you might have about that. So yeah, that's just my little pitch for the survey.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I left the survey link for the community agreements in the chat a few times. So please contribute before 2:15. And if you have any questions, we have Liz and Angela's emails right there. Please feel free to reach out to them. Also, take a look at our Lily LibGuides webpage. We have all the show and tell series so far posted on there, recorded. This recording should be posted pretty soon. And if anyone is interested in contributing or presenting, please reach out to one of us and we'll get you guys set up. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.
Can you send, yeah, Martha, I'm going to send you the link right now to the LibGuide. Hold on. There it is. The LibGuide link is in the chat. So please visit us, support us, and take a look at the previously recorded show and tells. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Liz and Angela and the web team. That was fun.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you for hosting.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you so much for having me.